Start officially. Then we can introduce ourselves later, connect. So, what is the engagement rules here? Is everyone is an expert. You are welcome to throw in your idea to speak the way you want. You feel free. There's no judgment. There's no filter. It's a free environment. So the way you understand it, say the way you understand it. There's no politician here. There's no spokesperson for Congo. There's no spokesperson for Rwanda. There's no spokesperson for East African community. There's no East Africa. There's no UN representative. We are all here as young Africans who are genuinely interested in these solutions. So don't feel uh, self-judge yourself or how my views will be understood, etc. Second, I am going to give a historical perspective to guide the discussion, but I am not discussing as an expert, like I told you. Um, so I'm just going to give a historical perspective. Then, after I do that, everyone who has something to say, I believe everyone has something to say, you click on your raise hand button and gently ask for an audience, and you'll be given time to speak. Then after our discussions, we will draft conclusions, the way forward, the way we understand it. How are we going to move forward? And some of the the missions we get, the ambitions or the conclusions, the way we think forward, we will we will uh we will draft a small rapport to really help us guide, and we will share it on our social media platform. This in the regard for this. So every crisis meeting must have resolutions. So we'll have resolutions at the end of the day. So, because we'll be having resolutions, I want to see someone who's willing to take notes for us. And that one will be Happy. Happy, are you okay to take notes? To take a few notes, okay? Yeah, like the way forward, going in our discussions. Happy, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, sir. Good evening.
Okay, so you help us jot some notes down, then we'll write it more, polish it more based on what you have, then we'll publish the way forward. Sounds exciting?
Yeah, I'm sorry to say that because I have an emergency issue here. Maybe I can just ask my colleague Jefta or Hamisi. They can take the role on behalf if
Okay,
it is possible.
Hamis. All right, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
Yeah,
Achai.
thank you.
Achai. We can have like two. Achai as well. I trust handwriting. You can take some notes. Okay. So the issue in the room, the elephant in the room is Congo. So when you're discussing Congo, you have to discuss key players in this. The one the media has taken, even the key players on the ground. So when you're talking about the Congo, first of all, Congo is not at war, the whole of Congo. It's a specific region in Congo called North Kivu. Now, North Kivu, for those who don't know, it's in the eastern part of Congo. And Goma, where the rebels have taken control, is actually 1 kilometer from the other side of Rwanda. Simply means you can live in Goma in Congo, work and walk to Rwanda, vice versa. You can work and sleep in Goma, which is Congo. So the region has been a turbulent place. And keep in mind that Congo is made of 250 tribes. Such a diverse, huge, humongous country. 250 tribes. In Eastern DRC, which is the North Kivu itself, it has so many tribes. And among the tribes, there is a minority tribe who are called Rwandaphones, meaning they are Kinyarwanda speaking, and to be specific, majority of those are fighting are Tutsi minority group in Congo. They are Kinyarwanda speaking Congolese. Now, someone would ask, how are the Kinyarwanda speaking Congolese in Congo? Or, like the media has put, I mean, the leadership in Kinshasa has been displaying that these are actually not Congolese, these are Rwandans. So they should go back to Rwanda. I'm going to explain that. Now, during the Berlin Conference, when the white people sat in Berlin and partitioned Africa, the demarcations for partitioning Africa, people used to use mountains, rivers, and lakes. So before the Berlin Conference, there was a kingdom called the Rwanda Kingdom, the Greater Rwanda Kingdom. The Rwanda Kingdom stretched a big part of North Kivu. Henceforth, that's why you find the Kinyarwanda speaking Congolese right now who are in North Kivu. Now, when they partitioned them, like any other Africans, like for example, those from Kenya, you know very well, they are Bagishu in Kenya and Bagishu in Uganda. You know, there are Maasai in Kenya, there are Maasai in Tanzania. You know that very well. Uh, there are Rwandese from Uganda who are taken to Ugandan side, but there are also Rwandese on the other side. But one would ask themselves, for those who may not know, the Congolese, I mean, why is it that the Congolese speaking the Congolese speaking Kinyarwanda, why is it that they are the only people at war? Why is it that there is always a problem at war? Now, to give a context, Congo is not the only place that has the Congolese, I mean the Congolese Kinyarwanda speaking people were partitioned. Even in Uganda, like a greater whole districts in Kaba, they call the Kaba, mostly the western part in Tungamo, it is that Banyarwanda, but they're in Uganda, but there's never been a question of that. Now, why? To give you just a historical background, in 1965, the leader at the time, Mobutu Sese Seko, was a banger, passed a law in the parliament condemning, denying, dehumanizing Kinyarwanda speaking people called the Mulenge people who are in South Kivu, saying that they are not Congolese and they should be banished from the community. And because of that, there was a very distorting, people are killed, people are discriminated, and Benyamulenge left the part. But it didn't stop from there. So from 65, imagine from 65 up to now, the Congolese government, politically and socially, they have always targeted this Rwanda, a minority Tutsi speaking Kinyarwanda. And now, because how they link it with the Rwanda more is the leadership in Kigali, there are Tutsi. So Kisekedi and the group and all the leaders of Congo, they say, no, these are brothers, they should go back. But they are not Rwandese, they are Congolese who are partitioned when they are drawing these pseudo borders, the colonialists drew. So it has always been a contestation of identity. So, number one cause of that war is identity. The politics of identity has always been the problem. And because of that, they formed a group called, it's in French. I just want to make sure that it is M23 is March 23. M23 is when is actually a date in 2009. This is not the first time people they are fighting. So there was a huge fight in 2009, uh, led by a guy called Rwanda. So they fought, they reached an agreement, and the president at the time, Kabila this junior, said, "You guys, we are going to integrate you into Congolese army, integrate you into community, and we have peace." So they made an agreement 2009, March 23rd. I think that was in Nairobi. So what happened? After a few months or a few years, the agreement was abolished. So they did not implement the process of integrating these grievances of Tutsi people who are protecting their communities into to fully get implemented in the bigger strategy of a nation in Kinshasa. So at the time, the international community said, "Okay, you guys, including the East African nations, you guys put down the uh, guns and let's talk. Let's have a political solution." That's how March 23 formed. Now, in 2012, it resurfaced. It resurfaced, and remember that these guys, a majority of them have been serving in the Congolese army, and because of that, they deserted the Congolese army because their communities were targeted, were harassed, targeted, and killed. So they went there to protect their communities and struggle for a bigger stream of being accepted and being Congolese, not being denied. So the group in 2012 resurfaced, fought, and it was defeated. I think in 2013 they reached an agreement and it was decisively defeated, and the remnants came to Rwanda as refugees, and others went to Uganda as refugees. So that's the history about M23. But across the media, one will be interested. Why Rwanda in this? Because most of the headlines are saying Rwanda-backed group. How did Rwanda get involved with the Congolese politics? How did Rwanda get earn its name as a cohort of the Congolese people, according to the media experts? Now, I'll tell you, in 1994, everyone knows what happened in Rwanda, the genocide. So against the Tutsi, they killed 1 million people. The current government, they are part of the Ugandan training. They are part of the Ugandan military, actually. So when they came, they organized and entered. Everyone knows that the RPF, the Rwanda Patriotic Front, um, fought and took power militarily and stopped the genocide. The president at the time was Habyarimana, who was killed in a plane crash, which they say it's a spark of genocide, but the genocide ideology was there even before. So when they fought, came, organized, defeated the regime of the day, and guess what? The whole military of the government they defeated went to North Kivu. This is where the mix now starts. Went to North Kivu, meaning they were they sought refuge in Congo. Why did they seek refuge in Congo? Because Mobutu Sese Seko supported the Habyarimana's government. So it was convenient for them, which I understand, to go where they might be accepted. And Mobutu welcomed them, accepted them. So they went, the militia were like 2 million army, and all of them were like 4 million. You can imagine both civilian and the army. That's a huge group. So because of that, they vowed, with the help of Mobutu Sese Seko, they vowed to come back and reclaim the power in Rwanda, meaning take over also militarily. And they organized it. In 1996 and from 1995 to 1996, they regrouped and came to attack again in Rwanda. So it was a serious war. They fought, and then the regime in Kigali, the current regime in Kigali, overwhelmed them and went back. So when they went back, now according to international law, when you because you can't deny people enter your country, but when a militia, a military group goes to your country, according to international, you are supposed to disarm them. That's number one. Mobutu Sese Seko did not disarm them, hoping, daydreaming perhaps, that they might go back to Rwanda and go back to Rwanda and take over. So 1996, serious war erupts, and Rwanda, because of its security concerns and strategy, they thought these guys were not going to be, they are going to be a threat forever. How do we do that? So they organized and overthrew Kabila. That's why the first Congo War came in 1997, the first Congo War. So the Congo War, they combined with Uganda because of their strategic interest. They come. I say, okay, you are an enemy. You are supporting a rebel group that want to take power from us. They killed people. Remember, this is just not a rebel group. They committed a genocide. They killed over 1 million people and just escorted free to Congo. And this is Mobutu backing them. So now, like politics is a marriage of convenience. Where you see a loophole, you exploit it. The opposition in Congo, led by Laurent Kabila, the late, they were opposing Mobutu seeking political power. They say, okay, we are going to ally with your enemy, which is Rwanda, to overthrow you. So they allied with opposition in Congo, overthrew Mobutu Sese Seko, installed Kabila. So that's how it started. So it happens, Kabila in 1998 turned against Rwanda. Instead of continuing a relationship with Rwanda, he used the militia group called the FDLR in Kinyarwanda. FDLR. So it formed into now a full-fledged militia. Now, to go back, I think they disagreed, which is understandable. Politically, people disagree. So he turns against them. He also, instead of neutralizing FDR, that the militia that committed genocide, that sought a refuge in Congo, he used them to attack again Kigali. And that one also led to a second Congo of 1999, I guess. So that's when they came, overthrew again Kabila, installed the son. It's like this and this and this. So I want this is a very long history, but I want to see, how does Rwanda get mentioned a lot in Congolese crisis? One is security concerns. Two, it has a historical ties with even people, like any other African countries. So if people are mentioning Rwanda is supporting rebel groups, Rwanda is supporting rebel group, you need to know the genesis. How did it come to happen? So Congo War goes into full-fledged war. It was a nasty war. Over 6 million people have been reported dead in the Congolese people, reported dead for sure. And that's how the evolution of militia insecurity conflict continues. Now, that's the Rwandan context. Now, the international law, not the international, the so-called international community. I'm going to bring also the context of international community. As you know, 1960, they assassinate Patrice Lumumba in the 1960s, early 1960s. They assassinate Patrice Lumumba. And everyone knows here, if you have learned, you can research it. Congo, the colony of Congo, belonged to one man's guy, who's King Leopold, exploited Congolese. It estimated that he has killed 10 million people, more than what they report in, more than Hitler. Hitler, they say he killed 6 million Jews. Leopold killed over 10 million Congolese. The Congolese people were hanged, were used as baits in hunting crocodiles, you know, exploited Congolese minerals, rubber, etc., etc. You know that. Meaning that the international community has always been interested in Congo. And, and because of that, they are strongly and heavily invested in exploitation of Congo. But there are always loopholes. Now, this region, North Kivu, is an interesting part. Right now, as we speak, there are 136, to be exact number, not rebel groups, but militias. Now, militia is defined as group of people with guns, able to, they can destabilize anytime, they can talk, they can kill, they can protect. Because the reason is the Congolese, the government of Congo does not have political monopoly to enforce statecraft all over Congo. And because of that, these militia groups have always organized on a tribal basis, on a ethnic basis, to give them self-protection. But now there is an emergence of MONUSCO. MONUSCO, for those who don't know MONUSCO, it is a United Nations organization, stabilization mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which succeeded something called United Nations Organization Mission in Democratic Republic of Congo. So how does it come into existence? It was established after the Second Congo War in 1999, which I think the Second Congo War emerged from 1998 to 2003. It was a disastrous war. And that's how it came into existence in court, to give peace, to rehabilitate people, to transition people from that, from rebel fighting into civilian, to support civilian, reintegrate into community. So the stabilization has been there for 26 years in total. But if the stabilization mission was to protect and secure peace, why is it that there are so many wars that has been there? I want to tell you a little bit of budget of this MONUSCO. It uses over $1 billion a year. It is the most expensive UN mission in history since 70 years ago. Now ask yourself, why would the United Nations invest over $1 billion budget in the heart of Republic of Congo, a jungle? Those are questions you can answer yourselves. So why is it so much of emphasis? For the last 20 plus years, it has been there. It has not done nothing. It has done nothing, you know. So this is, if you are going to comment, give a context between international community, the regional body, and the way up. And I think with that brief introduction, it can give you a picture to inform your analysis. And in the middle, we can give a way forward. How can we solve this as young people, as future leaders of Africa? But as concerned citizen, why would millions of Congolese? I can assure you, the Kagame is not the enemy of Congo. Congo is not the enemy of Rwanda. East Africa is not the enemy of itself. There is a common enemy. But we're gonna fight. We're gonna sit down and speak truth to each other and find solutions. What I've seen portraying and spinning in the media across the world, it has been like, oh, the problem is Kagame. Now, you are either ignorant or you're doing it on purpose. Kagame cannot be the problem. The people don't talk about the inefficiency of the Congolese government and a lack of ideological clarity of Congolese leaders to comprehend these complex things, how to balance the country. Why would you deny people that did not partition themselves? They found themselves in Congo, telling them they should go back to Rwanda. They have never been to Rwanda. You know, everyone should understand that phenomenon. Every leader must understand the history. If you are blunt of history, why would you be a leader of a country? You are ignorant to understand that these colonial borders, people didn't participate in them. And so you deny people citizenship. Where do you want them to go? Like Nyerere said. And in 1996, at the height of that conflict, the late Mwalimu Julius Nyerere said that you cannot underestimate this issue. If you're telling Congolese to go back to Rwanda, should they go back with their land? Should they go back with their land? Because this is where a lot. And how do you really understand that this was a kingdom of Rwanda? Its names, Africans, Nyarigongo, Ruchuru. It is only Kinyarwanda word that has that name, Rua, Ruchuru. So these are names, they can give even evidence that no, these were not Congo, these were not other groups of Congolese. These were the a long time ago. This was Rwanda because even names Nyerigongo, you know. So this is a broad context of the situation. So the problem is not Kagame. The problem is not Tshisekedi. The problem is lack of cooperation of Africa as it has always been. And always the enemy will always find a loophole. So with that brief history, I want to open it up to the audience to participate, to give their ideas on how to understand these matters and what are the ways we can really harness a cooperation out of this. So thank you. Anyone with ideas, please go ahead and with that brief history, you can raise your hand, you can unmute, and you can uh, bring the debate to the floor. Maybe you have another version. Please say it.
Um, yeah, I Thank you for the historical overview. You did. I think I've, I've, that's the same version that I've had as well. Rwanda with security concerns in the DRC. But then there's also been the issue of the minerals that various groups are taking advantage of instability in the DRC to amass minerals. But the issue is now with um, the leadership now, because you're right, scapegoating or oversimplifying the matter. I don't think pointing fingers really would resolve it. But the matter of identity, the identity politics behind it. I'm sure some Congolese feel strongly about it because
Mhm.
they truly believe that it's Rwanda doing this. And there's the whole issue of misinformation, maybe even generational. There could be issues with scars and a lot of deep hurt as well. So I think just in a sense, something like a healing and reconciliation, like what happened in Rwanda after the genocide. They really worked towards healing and reconciliation, like national reconciliation. And I believe Rwandese even now don't even mention if they're Tutsi or Hutu, or they don't mention that they believe they're Rwandese. And I think Congo could benefit from efforts towards healing and reconciliation. I think so in terms of identity.
Excellent. Thank you, Kola Chai. And that absolutely agree with you. Um, people simplify matters just because, and you can't blame ordinary citizens. They are misinformed, they are manipulated, they are, in every sense. And you mentioned something minerals. Absolutely. It's a huge incentive in this war as well, because even the M23, where are they getting the money to buy those sophisticated minerals? You know, so I want to read you where those minerals are, and if you are from Congo, you can uh, you can add something to it. So there are five strategic mineral stations, which is sites. The one is called Wakali Territory. So the base mine operated by MPC Stroke Alpha Mine is one of the largest mining sites in the area extracting Kazatite. So MPC Alpha Mine, that's not a Congolese company or Rwandese company. It's not even an African company, but it owns it. Imagine that. It is a territory, it's not a site. It's not a site, it's a territory. Lubero, which is the heart of the very, very rich. It has all minerals, you know. Um, Masisi, mining sites are primary artisan and with Congolese company SMB operating in the area. I guarantee you this. Um, and there's a place called the Rubaya. There was also a key strategic mineral there. Beni territory, you know. So a lot of going on. Then Ruchuru. So these areas, when you trace, it has always a contestation of war, conflict, blah, 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 blah. Now, Rubero is operated by a company called, let's see, Glencore. Glencore is a Swedish company, is a Swiss multinational trading company. It's based in Switzerland. This owns the whole deposit site. These are not Congolese companies, and these are not Rwandese companies. Now, if these guys are owning that, there is a problem, ladies and gentlemen. There is a problem. If our own sites are owned by Glencore, APC, MPC companies that are not even African, there is a problem. There is a huge problem. So this is very, very serious. As we discuss this, we should also be conversant with the problem, with this unfortunate reality of Congo. Why would all those big mining sites be owned by foreigners? Did you know there are places, some mineral siting places in Congo that Africans have no access to? Imagine that. The Congolese themselves don't have access to. Even those that are allegedly in Congo for minerals do not have access to that. They are owned by the big boys who manipulate the international politics. How can that happen? So the problem is beyond Congo, it's beyond Rwanda. Those are small entities and chess on the bigger geopolitical landscape. This is a wake-up call for Africans. If we cannot own our minerals, if people can come and chase us from our minerals, they say, no, that's not your standard. That's not what you can. So why do we celebrate independence if you cannot even protect the gold under your feet? Very important question to ask ourselves. And as young people, we should be very, very conscious about this stuff and find out better solution. Yeah. Thank you.
Sir, I would like to add something.
Go ahead, please.
I honestly believe, as you said, the problem is beyond Congo, it's beyond Rwanda. I feel like Africa is currently in a state of test. It's like there's a test of our sovereignty in regards to many wars taking place, civil fights, corruption, corrupt leaders, etc. So I believe personally it's time for Africa really to acknowledge that the enemy is not between or amongst them, but the enemy is actually the one that has established borders, invisible borders, and also physical borders, dividing us, giving us room to question whether the person belongs here or doesn't belong there. Because at the end of the day, if we don't really solve this problem, it's going to affect our youth, it's going to affect everyone after years and many more years to come. So currently, we're in a state of test. We have to see if we're really dependent or we are independent. The number of space in Africa in regards to international, presence. Even this matter in Congo, why is it that we need to get international assistance to solve a problem that is within our jurisdiction? So we need to really just restructure everything, sit down and analyze like where the problem is coming from, how can we address this problem and not really get people from external forces to paint like a narrative that makes it seem like the problem is within Africa. So I believe it's just we need to wake up and solve the problem. We need to strengthen the AU. We need to influence them to do their job. They need to have like a national head state engagement whereby they sit down and be like, no, Congo, this is the issue. Namibia, this is the issue. South Africa, this is the issue. How can we really help each other and not get like an external body to, change the whole structure of how this war is going to outplay or something like that. So that's what I wanted to add on.
Excellent, Gary. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for that. Um, Rationalizing, I like the word you say. Africa is in the place of test. This is really a test for our sovereignty. Are you really independent? Why would you call people, waste people's time, have a public holiday that you are going to celebrate Independence Day when you can't control a small gold mine? And then just a deposit a deposit, you cannot stand and say, no, go away. It's a no-go zone, but you're wasting. So you are always sovereign to weak Africans. You can toss them around, imprison them, do whatever. But when it comes to real sovereignty, this is a test. I agree. Patrick. Patrick, you have the mic.
Yes, you hear me?
Yes, good evening.
Hello, do you get me?
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah, first of all, thank you for the introduction and all those who have already spoken. I do appreciate what you have already said. So, first of all, I do agree with you on the version of the history you have given us a short history, the genesis of the problem. The question of Rwanda funds who are living in Congo, who M23 say is protecting. First, I do agree that the Rwanda fund community is there, and I agree that they are Congolese. They are Congolese because they have been living in Congo before colonialism, and after colonialism, the borders were drawn and they were still located in Congo. But as far as I am concerned, I think that the problem, the war that we are seeing today, goes beyond that fact of Rwanda funds who are living in Congo. As you have already mentioned, there is the minerals which are abundant in Congo. There are so many minerals in Congo, and as you have mentioned, there are so many companies from abroad, from other continents, not even African companies who are digging minerals in Congo. So as for me, I think that the problem goes beyond the Rwanda funds speaking who are living in Congo, and it has maybe other very, very important genesis. So to find a solution, I think that we don't have to blame this leader or this one. We don't have to blame this country or this one. But we have first to look the origin of the conflict, so as to look for a solution. And I don't think that the solution will come from a war. A war, it will only be destruction. I think that the solution will come from a dialogue. And as of now, it is very complicated. That's why, as young leaders, we have to express our ideas so as to see if we can influence and say our viewpoint on the situation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Patrick. Absolutely. Absolutely. Political dialogue is very key. And just to give a context, it's not the problem is there is Burundi in Congo, there is Uganda in Congo, there is SADC in Congo. SADC is the regional body for Southern African countries. So in this case, you might think in the media, which is deceptional, you might think it's only Congo, M23, and Rwanda inside. No, there are so many players on the ground. And they are those mercenaries. I think everyone saw mercenaries, Romanian mercenaries coming in, coming in and going, they flush them out. So it's a serious war. It's not like it's a very serious war with so many entities. The question everyone should be asking. Okay, Congo, we understand. You are fighting, you are defending your sovereignty as a state because in realpolitik, a state is a monopoly of violence, meaning it's only a state that must orchestrate and restrain and enforce violence. But if you have other forces enforcing violence, then you no longer state. I understand with that. For Rwanda, you would understand and say, okay, they have a legitimate concern having FDR, which committed genocide and they are running away. So it is a threat to its sovereignty because it's just 11 kilometers from the Rwanda. But why would other countries be interested in Congo? This shows that the thing is beyond, like you guys said, it's beyond M23, it's beyond everything. There's a serious issue here that Africans must deal with. Even though we are not blaming, but we must speak to each other with truth and honest. And I think if we are going to solve a problem, in Kirundi, we have a proverb that if you're going to be healed, if you have a disease and you want to be healed, you have to speak it out. You know, ujya gukira indwara arayirata. You know, so you have to speak it out. So you have to really to say like, oh, my brother Chisekedi, this is not right. My brother Kagame, this is not right. Museveni, Uhuru, Ruto, Samia, you know, these are the things we should. Forget about the African Union. Forget about African Union. Forget about East African Community. Um, these are hoodwinking institutions. They are wishy-washy. They are not strong. They can't enforce. They are just there, you know. Only these two sites, Rubaya, these mineral sites I was talking about, Masisi, Beni, Rutshuru, they can take care of East Africa. Romero can take care of Congo itself, you know. But Congo has more than those. And there are those that are undiscovered, you know. Exactly. So that's the issue. Mm. Other people, please.
Yeah, thank you. And I would like to appreciate the contribution that have been made by your previous participants and the good introduction that you made, the hoster. And I would like to apologize in case of English language because it's my second language. So perhaps I will not be well gettable. Excuse me for that. Now, my contribution is that there is a cause road that everyone participating to that war or contributing to that war hide it. There is a cause road that contributes to the war, to our lives, and have been discussed so much and every time, but the conclusion did not reach it. To me, I think that the cause road is identity, as have been explained by the hoster. This is a cause load that even other nations, even foreigners have been interesting to DRC. Many people from different parts of the world have been interested to DRC because of wealth that DRC possess. And this is the only reason that make DRC in trouble even to date. The war that we see today have been history since many years ago, and several times East African Community, AU, met and discussed about the war, but the conclusion never reached. The war we see end in lies. It's because all over the time the cause note did not address it. As Hosta explained that Rwandese that are in DRC have been named the other not part of DRC, something which is not true. We observe on the history, something which is not true. So to me, the best way that we can resolve this conflict is to sit down and ask both parties, what do you want and what the government wants. We see this M23 are the direct cause of the war to emerge. But this is not true. They have been influenced by other parts. There lies people behind the M23 that influenced them to start the war to DRC. So if we want to reach the conclusion to this situation faces DRC today, we have to sit down and ask that M23, what do you want? DRC Congo's governments, what do you want? Tshisekedi did not term the Rwandese that are in DRC are the citizens of DRC. So this is a problem. They are not ready to head that. They term themselves as a part of DRC, and they contributed a lot until the DRC today we see as a DRC. So M23, as we observe that some members are Rwandese, as it has been claimed for so long. And this it's very true that some of them are Rwandese. So if Rwandese, it is better for us to term them Rwandese while they are in Congo, why we should not call them Congolese, simply because an identity is not an issue. If we term them Rwandese, but there's something harmonized to Congolese, why should we not calling them Congolese? This is a problem. So if we want to address this war, if we want to take this war to an end, we should analyze that identity is a cause load of this war, and we should address. And if we do so, automatically even that people who are beyond the M23 will not have a chance to pressurize the war, will not have a critical reasons to wage this war. As has been explained by previous speaker or hoster, previous speaker and hoster particularly, they said M23, they have possessing weapons of which we don't know where they took them. They possess food of which we don't know where that food obtained. Do you see? And we have said that there is companies that possess some mining sites of which Congolese, they do not having that access to possess. This is a problem. And actually, from my own perspectives, with interest contribute this war. So to address this, we have cut off the cause though. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Another contribution. Just to give you a context, people might be thinking, oh, what is M23 comprised of? So M23 is actually not comprised only by the Kinyarwanda speaking people. It has a lot of other ethnic groups, even though it was primarily composed by them. Just to give you a context, in North Kivu alone, there are Bantu-speaking groups called the Nandi people, Bambu people, Hunde people, Les, Taringa, and then the Pygmy groups, the Batwa, Bambuti, Bapenga. So those are all ethnic groups that are comprised of M23. So it's not only the Tutsi, like the media wants to bring it out. And they have formed an association called is it ERC? You know, it's a movement coalition. So this is something that really bothers Congolese as a whole, and we should really support peace process and dialogue and finding a lasting solution. Yeah, Bonke?
All right, thank you, my leader. Thank you so much for having me this opportunity. First of all, allow me to say thank you so much. At first, when I heard you speaking, and also the other comrades who also spoke thereafter you. Initially, when you spoke, actually, if you must have noted, I was actually sort of like reacting that I loved your sentiments. And bearing in mind that you're not exactly from DRC, but one of our neighbors, and I felt like maybe I should just hold on slightly and get to hear from the rest of the members present here, because I wanted to see whether exactly they understood what is the real matter. Because I personally, I was born and raised in DRC, so for me, I am speaking out of experience, what I've seen,
Perfect.
what I've only just had. So I may be, I don't know, a real witness to what is happening.
Nice.
Um,
Which part of DRC, if you don't mind?
South Kivu. I was born and raised in South
Oh,
Kivu.
so you have a lot
Yeah,
of
actually,
experience there. Yeah, it's a
the
hot
hot
spot.
seat. Actually,
Yeah.
everybody's talking. Yeah, everybody's talking about South Kivu right now. Bukavu. I've lived in Bukavu. The topic of every broadcast right now, worldwide and local stations. My parents, they great grandfathers and so forth, they found themselves in DRC 18 something in the 1800s, not
Yeah.
19.
Yes.
I hope everybody's getting in the 18.
Yeah.
That is approximately 400, close to 500 years ago, and up to date, they are still being called exiles. They're still being called Rwandans. Imagine that
Wow.
scenario. So, this issue, it is started with poor governance. Now, and this poor governance, due to poor policies and so forth, because there were actually, I really wonder, because Kinyarwanda speakers, they're actually, leave alone Kinyarwanda speakers, we have in DRC, we have more than 450 tribes. Guys, get me right, 450 tribes. And all of those tribes, they are not real, whatever, landowners. They all have a source. Some came from Zambia, from Tanzania, from Malawi, from Uganda, others from Rwanda, and so forth, right? Because the landowners are the pygmies,
Yes.
if you
Batwa.
ever heard of pygmies, they're the only landowners. But all of us, we have a source elsewhere. But I wonder why, because of poor policies, the Kinyarwanda speakers, we are the only ones who are being singled out. And now, like you said, when the Westerners, they see something wrong, they get a loophole.
Exactly.
Are you getting that? So they saw poor policies, and then they say, okay, let's find out a way of trying to destabilize these people because they have already given a chance to do so. So this is a matter that started way long time ago, and now I'm happy that you guys are getting to know about it, because our people have died. Nobody's talking about it. And now it is high time that everybody's actually talking about it. And I'm happy because I'm sure soon we are going to get now the solution onto this, because it has come to the global stage. So basically the problem was poor policies, poor governance, and now the Westerners now, because of that loophole, they got now a chance to come in and start, do what? Mine the minerals. Actually, yesterday I heard from the opposition leader from South Africa saying that they have, and I don't know, will I say like airstrips where
Yeah.
they are just landing. These are unknown airstrips. They are just landing and mine resources. Just to bring it to your attention, in the year 2010, Japan was caught having been mining, resources for 10 good years. And you know what? Actually, the DRC government never knew about this. Only the US government told the DRC government that, you know what? You guys are so stupid. The Japans have been stealing. And having been caught now, the compensation was what? They just, built them an expressway, which is the only expressway in Kinshasa, for having been mining resources for 10 good years. So leave alone China that is exporting, these eucalyptus trees, which are only found in DRC, the strongest one. So what I'm trying to say is the problem is the government of DRC, of which this is what M23 is fighting for. They are not able to recognize that. They are not able to give its own citizen, dignity. They are not able to formulate policies that are meant for the good of the common mwananchi. That's what we call them here in Kenya. I'll give you an example. In Kenya, we've got Somali people who are Kenyan, but they have origin from Somaliland, but they are not being told, go from where you came from. No. We also have the Maasais in Kenya. At the same time, we have Maasais in Tanzania. So the problem is the fact that we have Rwandan speakers in North Kivu and South Kivu. Yes, they must have got that origin maybe 5 or 1,000 years ago, but right now they are Congolese.
Absolutely.
So we need to strategize this government, and that is what M23 actually is seeking for. The main reason as to why you get to hear, Tshisekedi and many other Congolese speaking, M23, they are Rwandans, is because they are yet to admit that these people are Congolese. The fact that they speak in Rwanda, they are speculating that they are Rwandese. That's not the problem. Tshisekedi has to come to the realization that this is a civilized world, that people are going to the US the 5th or the 4th year. If you get married to an American citizen, the second year of your, residence in the US, you're already a US citizen. Later on, now people have lived there for more than 500 years. They're still being called, refugees and also exiled in that land. So we need to re-strategize this government. That is what M23 is fighting for. And if not, perhaps maybe they are going to have a section where they are going to govern it in the proper manner. And honestly speaking, we have actually, the Pan-Africanism is not even there. The elephant in the room is the Western countries. But now the problem is, even our neighbors, our fellow Africans, they don't see the good, or they are not after our good. Everybody who claims going to help us, I'm not saying that. I'm sure Rwandans, we have some of the militias from Rwanda and whatever, and also Paul Kagame and any other African countries who claim that they are coming to help us, stabilize the country. Yes, they may be having that good intention, but they're also coming to root our resources. So the message I have here is, maybe if we have fellow Africans with good intentions, well, let them help us. But the problem will end, or rather will be resolved by the Congolese themselves, if at all they wake up and realize that we are the enemies of ourselves. We should now come to realize that we are one, And then we should now figure out what can we do for ourselves. Can we, first of all, identify who is our enemy? What is ailing us? And I'm sure once DRC has such kind of conversations, we'll be heading in the right direction. But until that is not yet done, my friends, I am sure their neighbors cannot help us. The Jews had to come up and help themselves. The Rwandans had to come up and help themselves. Every sovereign country has to fight for its own independence and the well-being of its citizens. If DRC government is not waking up, we are far from realizing, peace and security in DRC. Thank you so much, guys.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Bonke. Thank you. And it's it's really nice to hear someone from the region. And I think you can hear that since 18, not 19, 18. These guys that have been in Congo for the last 400 years, but the guy just wakes up and says you are Rwandans. Now, is that not insanity, to be honest? Yeah. And like you said, a Congo is made of a lot of multi-ethnic. That those from Zambia, I know I have friends who are Zambians, but they trace origin in Congo. And they feel they are Congolese. In Uganda, there's a tribe called Batoro, the largest around Lake Albert area. The largest part of Batoro in Uganda, they're not actually from Uganda, they are from Congo. They are in Congo. The largest number of they're called Bakakwa from West Nile part. The big part is in Congo. The largest part of Bakonjo, they are in Congo, The largest part of Batwa, the Pygmy people, they are in Congo. So someone just signals that and spins it and then they propagate it to local people, Mwananchi, like you say. It's just problematic. It's just problematic. Kennedy, you had something to say. Kennedy? Oh, Patrick. Okay. So I just want to read you a fact. So the US government
Can I speak?
Okay.
Can I add something?
Sure, go ahead, please. Yeah.
Yeah, I was listening to this brother who has a lot of experience, who has been living there in the region, and I come out asking myself, according to what we know in history, according to what you have already said in the introduction, why this problematic of Rwandophones, those Banyamulenge, we know that they have been living in Congo for a long time. And after DRC independence, there was no question of these are Rwandophones. The question just raised in 1997, as you have mentioned, 3 years after the genocide in Rwanda. So don't you think this was strategic, somehow strategic, that the question was raised at that time? Because before that time, I myself here in Bujumbura, I have friends who are Banyamulenge. They are my friends. We talk to each other. They tell me before 1997, we were living in Congo. We were happy. We were in peace. There was no problem. But just after the genocide in Rwanda, the question was raised and the problems, the war started. So don't you think this was strategic? I think we have to think so far. We have to think so far because the problem goes beyond this question of identity. Thank you.
Yeah, Bonke, you want to you want to answer him? I'll add him, but I'm interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother. I'm happy to hear from the Rohots and good to meet you, my brother. Well, actually, this is so hilarious. Let me just bring these facts for those people who are not from the Great Lakes, perhaps for you to understand. Here we are talking about the Tutsi communities, that is Kinyarwanda speakers from South Kivu and North Kivu, the people from Masisi and from people from South Kivu, that is, to be precise, Banyamulenge, which is my tribe. Now, I'll just base my argument slightly with my own community, just for you to understand what I'm talking about. The Banyamulenge community, we had once produced the vice president for DRC, who was actually the predecessor of this current president. The president whom he succeeded. Now, one of his vice was from Banyamulenge. And by then, the Inspector General of Police for DRC was also Banyamulenge. Currently, as we speak, in the cabinets for Tshisekedi, we have a Banyamulenge ministers. The regional commander of the DRC forces for South Kivu and North Kivu is a Banyamulenge. We have MPs, members of parliament. We have, heads of organizations. We have in all sector of life for any government. We have these minority representatives, right? But I wonder why they go ahead and say that these people are not Congolese, yet they are occupying these lucrative positions of a nation. Just a food for thought for them. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. And I just to add on Bonki's argument. So it happened actually, it happened it happened during actually the Mobutu Sese Seko's time when we go back in history. Now, I wasn't alive by then. So let me not speak as if I was there. But history records that in 1965, Mobutu actually passed a law banishing Banyamulenge, to be specific, as not as aliens not who are not Congolese enough. But at the same time, he had Banyamulenge in his government. Now, what is that? That's just politics. You guys, have you heard about House Negro? So a House Negro, how it happened is that a House Negro is a concept in the United States where, like, when your master, during slavery, some had to work plantations, others had to work in the house and have this cool eat from the food of the master, etc. Now, what happened is it's a psychological warfare. What happens is that this house Negro who is aligned with the master, who eats from the master's plate, they eat good food with them. The field Negro, who's the slave working in the field, is that this house Negro, they will be charged to monitor the house, the field Negro. So in case they are misbehaving, you come quickly, report to the master. And your reporting and conspiracy against him, deception against them, you would think you are buying loyalty to the master. In that, these two people don't have a chance to talk and align and really face the real enemy. So the real enemy, they will think, this field Negro would think the real enemy is a house Negro who reports every time to the master. And a house Negro would look at this field Negro as they are not at the same level. So there's a huge difference. They're not the same level. And so there is no form of association. It's a psychological tactic, ladies and gentlemen. So, but it doesn't erase the fact that these people have been heavily discriminated. Yeah. It does not solve the problem. There will be M23. If they don't solve the problem, there will be M24 up to 100, which we don't want until we solve the real problem. The problem is not having a commander-in-chief of police, Mnyamlenge, but you go kill their own parents in the villages where they are grazing animals. It's something big and deep. Yeah. So that's how I can answer you, Patrick, if you're still around. So with that, I think we are coming to the end of our program. Kennedy. Yeah.
Yes. Hello. Am I
Hey, Kennedy.
audible enough?
Yes, you are.
Hi, Enoch. First, I'd like to thank you for converging this meeting at this critical point for our brothers in DRC. And also, I really sympathize with the grievances of our Congolese brother who said that he underwent through all these traumatizing events and they're being treated as lesser Congolese, yet they deserve all the rights of the Congolese citizen. I understand it's a very traumatizing thing and it's very bad that it's happening to them. Anyways, I would like to bring a different perspective into this matter. First, I understand that this is not amongst the major demands of M23. First, I understand that to some extent, these M23 guys, they have honored most of the agreements that these peace talks always discuss. Like I remember the previous one that was held in Nairobi, the M23 fully complied and they were almost being integrated into the national army. Then all of a sudden, things took south and the DRC army, they started attacking them and they forced them back into the bush. So I wanted to ask that how will things look like if this Greater Congo decide to let the M23 govern this region as a federal state so that they can run their own government, they can collect their own taxes, they can do their own stuff, they can have their diplomatic missions abroad. I would like to think in this perspective since it seems like it's only this region that's it's giving Congo a lot of problems. Okay, I submit.
Oh, you muted yourself.
Yes. I've already submitted my concerns and my thoughts about this issue.
Oh, okay. So you are saying you're saying why we do that? I didn't catch that.
What if these M23 rebels, they are given that region, that Kivu region, so that they can govern themselves, like this, the same way we had Eritrea and Ethiopia.
And Ethiopia. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay. So you are speaking in terms of General Machenga. But that's not his actually he doesn't want even he just wants rights, I guess. Thank you for that, Kennedy. What do others think about that? Bonke and Patrick.
All right, thank you, brother. Was it brother? Who? Kennedy? Kennedy, are you based in Kenya?
Yes, I'm based in Kenya, bro. I heard you saying that you're here in Kenya. Welcome, bro.
Yeah. Thank you. Actually, I know the accent of Kenyans. I've collaborated with them quite a lot. So, and also Wabuge sounds like a Kenyan. Yeah, That's great. We'll be in touch. I've actually given out my details on the chat. Now, you're asking, okay, the better part of your question wasn't clear because you were breaking along the way. But if I got you clearly, first of all, you're saying that one of the demands that M23 is asking for, they, or rather addressing the issue of their identity is one of them. I don't know whether that's what you are alluding to, but I will tell you honestly speaking, the source or the primary element of them, resisting in all that, it was because of the coexistence, killings, massacres, genocide of this particular minority. That's why they came up and formed this. Some will call it, a rebel. Others will call it, people who've come to liberate them, whichever the name you call it. I don't care, but we know exactly what they stand for. So what I'm trying to tell you is that, remember, way back in the year 2012, there was some sort of negotiations. They agreed on some things, but the government did not heed on to them. So they now revived themselves. Why? Because the government was not able to cease from attacking, or rather, actually, it is so insane. I wish we had lengthy time, guys. I should have given you a correct narrative. How the government actually recently, let me tell you this, it is so hilarious. Recently, in a place known as Mikenke, where my grandfather is right now as we speak, it is a UN camp where people fled, or their close to, 360 villages were burnt by, these people holding this belief that, we are not Congolese. So they decided to ban all our 300 and something villages. And also they raided all our kettles. Close to 100,000+, kettles were raided. Now these people, they decided to flee to two sections. One is called Minembwe, the other one is called Mikenke. Now, recently, 2 months ago, if not 1 month ago, these people, they also decided to come and do what? Raid some kettles that these people have started, keeping while in the camps. So now, once they attacked these people, you know what? Our people decided, no, you guys, you've gone too much. We are going now to defend ourselves. Now, they decided to also go and get these kettles back. Once they got them back, you know what? The government of DRC went ahead and said, why did you guys go ahead and attack these people? The fact that they had attacked you and took your kettles is not justifiable for you guys to go ahead and now attack them. You see? And now the government of DRC singled out these people who had gone ahead to attack these communities that have attacked them before. And, instead of maybe jailing them, or rather taking them to prison, or rather taking them to court, you know what it did? It now took these people and handed them over to these communities that have been killing them every single day. And you know what? These people were tortured. Some of them were killed. You can imagine a government that takes its own people and hands them to, the enemy's the enemy's hands. So you can, that's what I'm telling you. Everything that M23 is doing, and other so-called Twigwaneho and others, they are trying to protect themselves. That was just to answer you, my brother. The other question we are saying, maybe M23 should be given this land, govern itself, become a sovereign state. Well, I'm sure perhaps they may want that one, if at all the government of DRC is not allowing, or rather coming to the table to discuss. But it is not an easy thing as you think. It requires diplomacy. It requires, some sort of, military power and so forth. Yeah, that's what I have, maybe, my brothers, for now. Thank you.
Awesome. Patrick, you had something.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me again. So I would like to answer to the contribution of our brother Kennedy from Kenya. I think that to let a territory for M23 will not be the solution for the problem. The solution for the problem that DRC is facing now will not come from letting a territory to M23 and M23 become a government or what. And I also think that this is quite impossible because of the other reason that we have already mentioned, the mineral resources that are very abundant there. So I think it's quite impossible for DRC government, the current government, to rate the territory for M23. The solution is from dialogue, as for me, is from dialogue. Maybe there might be concessions from each part, but not to let a land to this or this, to this part or this one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hamis, you had something and a chai. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to respond to my brother that asked me what if the M23 will be given that Kivu, what will be next? Yeah, that's a very good question. But my concern is that the M23 fighting for identity, historically fighting for identity. After denying to be given that identity, now they find another means that they will survive themselves in DRC Congo. That's why they're struggling to catch up some wealth areas, including Kivu. So this is an issue that lies after the key issue lost not be addressed. So if we could address the concern of identity, then this issue of war will not be happening anymore. For instance, I would like to provide an experience in my own country, Tanzania, that before independence, there were a lot of kingdoms that struggled for having such kind of achieving to catch some wealthy area. But after independence, Mariam Julius Kambarage Nyerere come up and address the issue of tribalism and said publicly that we don't have Chaga, we don't have Nyamwezi, and any kind of tribes that we were before independence. Now we are getting the independence. We have to focus as Tanzanians. We are Tanzanians and not Nyamwezi and not. So recently from Tanzania, you can travel wherever you want to be, and nobody will ask you what's your identity, who are you, where are you coming from. No. So these are the things that should be addressed in DRC Congo for DRC to be in a peace condition. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I speak?
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, my brothers, for addressing my question. Actually, the reason why I proposed this is because in many cases whereby these countries have been having prolonged wars, let's take like for example like Eritrea and Ethiopia. These guys were fighting, these guys were killing each other, and it was so messy. If you ask the UN troops about how messy it was, they'll tell you that guys were lying on the buildings, nobody was even picking them, they were rotting there until they're eaten by animals. But when these guys decided to break away from the greater Ethiopia, now we can witness peace in Ethiopia, we can witness peace in Eritrea. Another example is the Sudan and South Sudan, since the days of Dr. John Garang. Now you see South Sudan is it's flourishing, it's nourishing, it's doing well, though the greater Sudan still has some little bit of issues, but glad it's internal. So that's why actually, so that this might help the issue in Congo. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Achai.
Yeah, I feel now it's even more complex than it was in the beginning. Just hearing of the
Yeah.
how deep it goes. But I feel like a lot of work needs to be done at the civil society level as well. Because, yeah, especially from what Bonke has said, there seems to be a lot that needs to be done at the civil society level. And maybe that can also influence government instead of from top down to bottom kind of thing. But I also wonder to what extent, international civil society can be engaged as well, to put pressure, for example, on the different actors in Congo so that they can at least take some responsibility for it, even if it's in some way. I don't know how international civil society could be engaged. And at one point, and then there was a lot of mention of insanity. It does seem like insanity. And I had wondered in these dialogues, political dialogues, whether with civil society or with government officials, I had wondered to what extent we can involve other professionals, like organizational psychologists, anthropologists, or just different officials who would have a deeper insight in some of these differences and in some corporate way, if possible, to pay for soften a dialogue. And yeah, so I just thought I'd mention that.
Very good insight. Yeah, absolutely. So the idea of partition, interesting one, Kennedy. You dropped an elephant in the room. Yeah, so I just want to read you a simple statistics here that would really complicate Africa's, DRC situation. The largest cobalt mine in the world is in a place called Matanda Mine. Now, interestingly, DRC is a home to half of world's proven cobalt reserves. That is very dangerous and a big opportunity. Now, with the recent administration, because these things are linked to internationalism, if you pay attention to them, the United States is going to invest over $500 billion to develop AI, science, and infrastructure. That explains as to why they are building the Lobito corridor. A corridor connecting Angola, DRC, and a bit of Zambia, I think. Now, because of this, you're going to see a lot of tension in the region. These things are not fueled by just something from air. It is also fueled by these demands of multinationals, multi corporations that have deep-seated interest in developing the next fourth industrial revolution. And you cannot speak about AI and advancement and don't speak about cobalt. You cannot speak about drones and don't speak about cobalt. By any means and measure, Congo is going to be a permanent interest to the developing and evolving world. So I think as people are thinking about these things, you should not think about we should not shy away from the reality that by any means this will fuel industrial revolution. And therefore this cobalt is needed. So the solution is not to chase away people who mine it. the solution is adding value to the mining. I'll explain. If all these big multinational companies have deep interest in that, what Congo has failed, and East Africa, I'll first say East Africa, or Africa will come later because of the geography, the proximity to the problem, is that they have failed to understand that these are beyond Congo. These things are beyond just being a province. They are geographical and international. They fuel international system of trade and commerce. And therefore, if they are going to mine our gold, our cobalt, how does Congo as a society be? One, they should build infrastructure. If they are going to fuel those, they should build roads. They are private, like I said in the beginning, there are private airstrips in Congo that no one is allowed to go there. Something lands in the bigger in a forest. So how do we turn that to be a good, to be a public good, not a private good? So for some multinational corporations, is build infrastructure, build hospitals, build roads, build supply electricity. Everyone here may not know there's something called the Inga Dam on Congo River. So that project started in 1960s, but it just needs $80 billion. Inga Dam has a capacity to supply electricity to the whole of Africa, to light the whole of Africa and export it to the world. So why can't they have those negotiations on the table? But here is the flex. You cannot have those discussions because what influences a negotiation on the table is the capacity of enforcement. You have to bring this person on the negotiating table. Do you have a capacity to enforce? What if they refuse to comply? Do you have a capacity to enforce? So these are the negotiating tables. You come, you take gold, these are the things you want to do for us. But they cannot do that when Congo itself does not even, those multinational companies don't pay even taxes to Congo, this government, because it is weak politically, structurally, and militarily. And I'll tell you the truth from a realpolitik perspective. Those things are going to require political and a military strategy. Because you cannot tell Grand Core company that, okay, you must comply these things or else we invoke your permits. It's going to be war. It's not the discussion. It's going to be war. But Congo itself cannot manage that. That's when it comes in a bigger military strategy stationed in DRC, comprising of countries that are ready to defend DRC. To defend the interests of DRC. But like Bonki said, it's gonna take a conscious visionary leader in Congo to raise those suggestions to member communities. I am telling you, ask Bonke, he's from Congo. These global minds I was talking about, Wakali, Rubero, those are known ones, but those that are not discovered. They have capacity to fuel those countries and light and shine. Two, propose a value addition, meaning they are going to establish industries in Congo to process that cobalt so that we sell it when it is a finished good. That's how you get revenues. But how do you convince at a big industry like that without financing factors of growth? Factors of growth is railway. Factors of growth is electricity. To manage that is investing in Inga Dam, to pump that generative capacity that fuels industries and has a place to go. So I want us really to think beyond and think, people say Pan-African, 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 but I have not seen Pan-Africanism in this. The thing Pan-Africanism is defining a common enemy and defining a common interest. When there is a bigger project in Congo, there are bigger markets. Rwanda can sell, Uganda can sell, we all benefit. So I think in the question of partitioning, yes, they might partition in the future, because if the government doesn't talk, future generations will come, will propose that. These guys may not manage it now, but they have kids. They might also propose that in the future. But I think the solution is pacifying Congo and having a national resemblance that really helps it. Otherwise, even if they partition it, it makes it weaker, because that is the main objective of a colonizer, balkanization, because divide and rule makes it easy. Once those guys divide you, they put you in a corner, say a few good words behind you, and the other one, they confuse them. At the end of the day, like President Kagame said, everyone in the international community is confused about the problem of Congo. So that's what I think, and that's what we can strategically do to enhance that. Yeah. Bonki, you had something?
Yeah, I had something, my brother. I just wanted maybe to share it in the chat because I never wanted to take that long. I don't want to sound conspicuous, or rather, because here it's not a matter of showing off, it's a matter of addressing the real cause. Maybe just a quick one. Thank you, first of all, my fellow leaders, for convening this meeting where we are able to address this issue. And one thing I should tell you for sure is that we are the leaders of our continent, and therefore we should get it right by understanding what is the real cause of problems, not necessarily within DRC, but also within the whole continent at large. I am happy to hear Patrick, is it Kennedy, talking about, Eritrea, South Sudan, also brother there, the host, talking about issues to do with other countries. So we need to be aware, of all these incidents, because I'm sure once we get into these state jobs, we will have the understanding, the idea of what ails us, and I'm sure we'll have the right, policies and also actions to be taken. Maybe in a nutshell, what I feel like in conclusion needs to be done in DRC. First of all, the government has to be changed, not divided. We are not talking about balkanization. Balkanization will not bring any solution, because if we balkanize the country, that is by maybe dividing it into portions, and also bring leaders with the same sentiments, ideas, minds, that the old minds that the current regime has, will not have attained our goal, because in those portions that they have maybe occupied, they also continue with the same. So we don't want to have that repeated. So we need to have new minds, new, leaders who have the interest of every Congolese, regardless of what language they speak, how they look. Because actually, as we speak right now in DRC, if I happen to go there, and the vast majority of communities, they can exactly tell who I am without even myself speaking, because of just how I look, because of my long legs, because of maybe a sharp skeleton. They can definitely tell, and then eventually that translates that I'm their enemy. So we need to have new leaders who are going to help us sensitize community. They need to show us the good of having us all on board. We need to have these leaders who are going to sensitize communities, making them understand when you see somebody, you see maybe resources, opportunities in them rather than enmity. I think that's what we need. And also these leaders, perhaps they are going also to sensitize, the neighbors, the international community. The international community, what will bring them on the table? That's all. I mean, they always do. You know, we brought insecurity on the table. They brought us MONUSCO, and MONUSCO did nothing apart from just killing our loved ones and rooting resources from us. So what I'm trying to say is that we need these new leaders. That's the only thing. We need to restructure DRC government from, you know, from the scratch. Yeah, and the ones who are going to do it, it is us. Kindly, I beseech you to continue preaching the same gospel. Whatever you've maybe heard from this summit, kindly tell a friend to tell another, and I'm sure maybe with this time people will come to understand the root cause of these problems. I thank you from now. May God bless you all, guys. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I think really anyone with, I don't want to, I want to brief conclusion. What do you think is the way forward? What do you think is the way forward? Really quick, and we just call it a day. Anyone with a few conclusive remarks? Okay. I think everyone is satisfied, and the way forward is always paying attention to what happens in the world today is very, very important. So the policy you see in the United States, when you follow it up, you see play very well in the jungles of Congo or in the jungles of your country, because the international system is built with the mindset and strategies and structure to favor those who design it. And it's all right. Would you design a system that is against you unless you are not okay? So you have to design a system that favors you. It's not their fault. It's they're working their own interests. So it's upon Africans, really, really Africans, to wake up, to really have leaders of class. All these mediocrity leaders to get out of our way, you know, to have leaders who work for people, who define their interests as well, that can be able to design a system that benefits them. Because when you design a system that benefits you, it creates a counterattack with those systems as well. And so when it creates a counterattack, there's an opportunity to negotiate. But right now, what would you negotiate? What are you bringing on the table? You know, it is something we should think about. And maybe those who came in a little bit later is that Congo right now, there are places, and I repeat this for many, many times, there are mining places where a black skin cannot even come. And to the shocking truth and the unfortunate thing is that those mandating those places are black people. So a black person chases away a black person on the African continent. So we have really to think strategic, and to sum this up, I think we're gonna have a very robust and deep-seated political strategy, a strategic political way to resolve this, because this thing is not social. This thing is not a thing. Let's call it what it is. This thing is a political issue, and it can be solved through politics. Second, we should have a military strategy. And when I say military strategy, I'm not saying M23 to keep fighting or Congo keep fighting. No, that's minor. Because even if M23 takes power today, I'm sure it will take 40 years for them to have, even if they're ambitious, it will take them 40 years to regain control over their minerals. We should have a regional, a continental military strategy to defend our interests. Because Some of these idiots, like I would want to call them, those mad dogs in the Western companies, they cannot hear any other language. They have been on top of the world for too long. So they have made it as a right for them to eat wherever they find. So they cannot understand the language of dialogue. You have to shoot them for some to understand. So you should, but you can't shoot them when you don't have a strong military strategy. So a regional military strategy, leave alone those who are the East African standby force that went to take pictures at the airport and they say they're peacekeeping. No, it's serious military strategy. We want to say deployment, defending African interest in all these called mines, in these all mined areas. Okay? In Ruberu territory, we want to see a battalion. In Masisi territory, we want to see battalion. Beni, we want to see battalion. Rutshuru, we want to see. Wakali. Don't go to the Goma airport. What are you going to protect in Goma airport? A lot of minerals don't even pass through Goma. They have private airports in those fields. You're wasting time. It's just posturing. So we should be very intentional. We should raise leaders who are very intentional about these things. And these things are not really things to joke around. You must be serious. You must have capacity to contain. For those who don't know, coercive military is also part of diplomacy. So international system, there are two forms of diplomacy, carrots and sticks. The military is a form of diplomatic expression in the international systems. So I strongly believe that we should have a strong regional military strategy to contain this stuff. Because a Congolese army doesn't have control over this stuff. It is controlled by private companies hired by those corporations that take minerals. So this is something we should really, and spread the word and educate, be cautious because what happens in Congo affects you. I don't care where you are, whether in Nigeria, whether in South Africa, when you're in Zambia, it affects you because it robs our continent resources. It robs our continent dignity. It robs our continent, our people, who could be the future generation. Imagine, since those wars have been happening, over 7 million people have died in Congo. Those are dreams. Those are passions buried without their time. So we cannot keep fighting. M23 is not shooting Americans. M23 is not shooting Japanese, Chinese. They're shooting fellow Congolese and Feredaka, which is the national army, is shooting Congolese. So we should really wake up. We should really wake up. Otherwise, we will be dying like grasshoppers, fighting each other over minerals, or even we don't even fight over minerals. We're fighting each other because someone has a bigger nose, someone has a long nose, someone has a longer leg. Stupid, myopic, barbaric stuff that we should not embrace. So these are things we should take seriously, And I'm really hopeful that you guys who come to attend these conversations, I applaud you because you take these things matter seriously. A lot of people are good at talking. Hey, they're dead. We are perishing. Africa needs to unite. But when they call such a conversation, you are not around. How will you unite? Whether you are miseducated, misguided, and misdirected. This shows that we are conscious. So I'm just calling. I can speak from now up to evening, but we just have to be conscious what happens in our countries. A next generation should not suffer this stuff. So I really thank you very much. We will share this on social media, and we'll draft conclusive remarks we've made, and we'll also make them public. There is no point to hide them. We'll make them public, and we'll continue the conversation. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a very wonderful weekend, and I think we have had a very good conversation. So stay informed, stay alert. Let's move.
Thank you so much, Enoch, and all the contributions. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you so much.
Have a very good one, everyone.